Ready, here we go. We are live. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the inaugural episode 1 of the Sling'N led live podcast. I'm TJ.
I'm Kent.
And this is the third time we're trying this tonight.
So is this technically episode 1.3?
Yeah, you know, technically, if you go off of software development, then yeah, this would be 1.3.
TJ and I are thoroughly convinced that our musings and insights and intellect is so worthwhile that we're going to keep trying to get it all out to you guys, even if it takes us all freaking night.
I mean, it seems like a way to do it.
Yeah, the hell with it. Aside from all the technical difficulties and issues, my friend TJ and I are very excited to bring you guys along on a new venture, a new journey for us. This is something that was a hobby for us both that we are investing money, time, effort, and energy into. And we're going to start coming out with a mostly weekly podcast product for you guys. Boy, I was a lot more polished at 9:30. It's now 11. But point being, we're going to put our money and our time where our mouth is, and we're going to do this for real, quote unquote, professionally. So tonight, TJ and I thought we would come to you all, do a live, put it out to iTunes, Podbean, and everywhere else. 5 podcast stuff is served up, and we're going to take this thing on the road and do it for real. So we figured we owed a little something to you guys, our viewers, as well as a little something to the gun community at large. The first thing we're going to do this evening is we're going to talk about, quite frankly, just who the hell we are. A little something. TJ's the man behind the black camera. He's having the first thing we're going to camera, but you can still hear him good. And I'm the big goofy guy with the beard that you can see. But we figured we owed it to our viewers a little bit to lay out a bit of a resume on who we are. And, why does our opinion and all this stuff even matter? So with that said, TJ, it's an honor and privilege to be doing this with you. And thank you so much to your awesome family and my awesome family for supporting us in this. Tell these folks who you are. Give us a little bit of your background, your resume, and why the hell should people care what you have to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Kent. So yeah, everybody, that's where we've been for the past month. Is Kent and I have been sitting down and trying to hash out all the details for how we're going to work this thing. And thanks to all the support, not just from our families, but from the John and Jane Q citizen out there, we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, pardon the pun, and make this podcast its own separate thing. So while you can join us whenever we broadcast on YouTube live, barring that it works, we're also going to be, as Kent said, we are going to be also posting this on your favorite podcast player, so we can keep you company on your ride to and from work. So, but back to the question at hand. So, who the hell am I? So, my name is TJ Ramsey. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I spent about 7 years, both active duty and some time in the reserves. And during that time, I made 2 deployments in uniform to Iraq. Spent a little bit of time working in a gun store behind the counter for about a year, and then shortly thereafter became a defense contractor, where I did 5 more deployments to Afghanistan. So I've got, all told, about just under 5 years of real-world downrange experience in hostile territories and environments with a bunch of small people that want to see me die. I'm also an avid competitive shooter. I shoot USPSA 3-gun skeet, clay trap, long range. I kind of dabble in everything, but above all of the competition stuff, I am avidly and frequently training, be it dry fire or actually on the flat range, running various drills, because in my opinion, any time behind the trigger is a good time. And it's just that simple. Anytime you can get pulling the trigger on a gun is one more trigger pull to getting better than you were yesterday. And damn it, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, man. So you've obviously had a lot of experience in in the military and in your contractor days. What would you say has been your most influential learning experience with regard to firearms and the stuff that we talk about predominantly? What was your kind of like aha light bulb moment?
I can't honestly say that I've had one yet.
That's an awesome answer, man.
I think that's one of the reasons why I keep training and I keep doing the things that I do. Anyone that has claimed to have this whole thing figured out by now is full of shit.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. I don't pretend. I mean, despite my real world experience or anyone else's real world experience, I hate using the term expert because that implies that you have learned all that there is to be learned about a particular subject or topic.
How do you? Funny you mentioned the term expert. Where do you come out on the? And I kind of I'm playing interviewer. I know TJ very well. He's not going to say anything that surprises me here this evening, but for your benefit, the listener, I'm playing interviewer with him right now. TJ, how do you feel about the term subject matter expert as compared to just the term expert? What do you think of that?
I think they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
Either or. Expert is the term expert in and of itself. I like the term professional.
Yep.
I think that's a more accurate representation of a person's knowledge and skill level. I feel that if you have reached the level to where you are providing input, insight, and instruction and tutelage to someone who is otherwise ignorant of a particular subject or topic or skill or whatever the case might be, then I would say that you have reached the level of professional. Now, with that being said, we have to be careful because it's a double-edged sword. There are a lot of false professionals out there, so the people who think they know everything or think they know a lot about a particular topic, and that can get really dangerous. Because what I have found is that there's a lot of professional, quote-unquote professionals out there that are too afraid to admit that they don't know something.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
A case in point, and we'll use you as an example, Kent. You openly admit that you are a firearms instructor, but you primarily focus. Your strong suit is handguns, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I start asking you about sniper rifles, because to go along with the hypothetical situation, if I wanted to learn about sniper rifles from you, if I were somebody, a layman that didn't know, then you riding the waves of providing input might be hesitant to say, you know what, dude, that's not really my area. I don't know anything about sniper rifles. So let me point you to somebody that can go do that. Now, there are a lot of people. This is not an all or nothing. I try not to speak in very definitive terms about anything because there's always an exception to the rule. There are plenty of people out there who are very good at saying, you know what, I just don't know. That's not my strong suit. But you have to be wary of the people that think they know everything or know a lot about a topic.
Yeah, there's kind of a false dichotomy of expert level status in a lot of industries, and people kind of turn the other cheek because, quite frankly, in a lot of other industries, if you claim to be an expert in mortgage lending, let's just say, and it's I'm using that example because I know somebody who probably is an expert in mortgage lending and firearms. If you're an expert in mortgage lending, fine, you're good at mortgage lending. And if you say you're an expert in mortgage lending and you're not, okay, you might screw up somebody's deal or whatever, mortgage lending, what have you. If you claim to be a firearms expert and you claim to be able to expertly advise somebody in the use of martial tools, and your expertise is lacking, you could very well give somebody advice that leads to their demise.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of fakery in a lot of industries that kind of goes unchecked. This is one of those times where we can't afford for that to be the case because, God damn it, we're talking about defending ourselves, our lives, our liberties and implementing deadly tools to do so. So a claim of expertise or expert status where it is undeserved can really be a dangerous rabbit hole. So, but just so we're clear on the background thing here with TJ, I mean, my man's been downrange. He's been there, done that. He's never made the claim, nor he's not a secret squirrel, Delta Neil Ranger, whatever guy. But he saw some time in some places that I don't want to ever spend 5 minutes in, and this is not theoretical to him. He's really seen it and done it before. So, I'm honored to share the space and the time with him, and have been very honored and very blessed in our continued friendship. I've learned a lot, and TJ, not to toot your horn or whatever, but beyond being a really good source of knowledge and information and skill set and whatever else, you're just a great guy, man. So I couldn't be happier to have somebody on my team other than you, and I've been blessed in our friendship, and I'm looking forward to this, man. I can't wait till we're talking, episode number 500, and we've made all kinds of headway and strides, but let the record show that I'm super psyched to be here with you, and I couldn't have found through happenstance a better person to share something like this with. So it means a lot to me that you and I are doing this tonight, even if it is the third time. And thank you for being so willing and giving of all your time and your knowledge to all these folks and to myself. You've been awesome. So it's good to have you aboard, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Likewise. We spent a lot of time talking about how we were going to execute this plan.
Yep.
And damn it, I think we're going to do it right. So one of the things that you can expect out of me, I will never claim to be an expert or even a professional in many respects. I know a little about a lot, or jack of all trades, master of none, as we like to say down here in the South. But I like to say I know enough to spot someone who's full of shit. You know what I mean? So if I like to think that by that and watching the industry with a careful eye and an analytical mind, as I've been known, you can ask any one of my family members, I overanalyze everything. That I like to think that I'm at the position now where I can at least be a good consigliere or advisor. Yeah, I pulled out man, we went straight up Godfather right there. Yep, it's on the board.
That's pretty good.
So the firearm consigliere or aficionado, whatever you want to say. But yeah, man. So we're not sitting here tooting each other's horn too much. We do need to talk about your credentials, man. Because so for those that don't know, Kent is a firearms instructor, Green Mountain Defense. There will be a link to his channel, his own YouTube channel, as well as mine, but also to his training website in the description of this video. And for those that might be listening to this on the podcast, greenmountaindefense.com is where you can find Kent's training curriculum and how to get a hold of him and schedule classes and stuff like that. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, I highly advise you go check him out. Hell, even if you're not, if you're in California, fly on out and go spend some time training with Kent. Because one of the things that I'm always apprehensive about when it comes to getting training, and Kent, you and I have had this conversation, is I don't ever want to say that I know everything, but it's hard for me to justify the expense to spend time and spend that hard-earned money with somebody who's going to teach me something that I can't figure out for myself, or that I haven't necessarily figured out for myself. And through our many conversations offline, you've actually shown me quite a bit, man, and I would be damn glad to go train with you. And that's even besides just the friendship that we formed over the past couple of years. So why don't you tell the folks that are listening who the hell you are, and talk about some of the people you've trained with and where you've been in your firearms career.
Yeah, my track to this is obviously a bit different than TJ's. I'm non-mill, non-LE, non-BTDT kind of guy. I'm a professional sales dude by day and a gun trainer / internet gun celebrity, part-time kind of sort of, maybe if this works out right, by night. But the real thing for me, you mentioned that you didn't have an aha moment in your training career or in your firearms path, and I did, and not in a good way. I did the commiserate to, I'm your typical Pennsylvania redneck dude that moved to Vermont for a while. Grew up around guns, yada, 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 grandpappy's 30-30, daddy's shotgun, all that stuff. Been there, done that, talked about it all, have the t-shirt. Killed plenty of animals in the woods, all that kind of stuff. I am a hunter, fisherman, and all that. And, just kind of the commiserate thing with that is when you turn 21 and you're a member of that kind of family, what do? You get your carry. Well, I turned 21 in Vermont, so I didn't need to get my carry permit because America, they don't have carry permits in Vermont. They just have Article 16 in the Vermont Constitution. Any user. But being, you turn 21, you're able to carry a gun. Guess what? That's what you do. And pretty early on in my carrying of a gun days, I said, I want to go over to this place I heard about called the SIG Academy, and I'm going to take one of these here handgun classes. I'm going to show all these dudes how awesome I am. And I wish I was kidding, but that was my mindset when I showed up. I was gonna walk in there and I was gonna shoot, and they were gonna offer me a job running the place. I figured because of how awesome I was. I'm exaggerating for effect here, but the point is, I was like, man, I think I've got this pretty well figured out. And I left that place for the first time with a combined total embarrassment and humility and a big slice of humble pie and a very deep desire to grasp and master what I had experienced there. I, at the time, was teaching skiing. I was very involved in the ski business, was pretty good at skiing and stuff. And I genuinely was used to doing things, hunting, fishing, skiing, outdoor stuff, whatever. I was generally pretty good at what I did, right? And I thought I was generally pretty good at shooting because, I put up a shooting C out in the woods and shot at a freaking pallet standing up against a stump, and I thought I was something because I could hit the effing shooting C. And, I went over to Epping, New Hampshire, and I got my freaking, my aha moment or my light bulb moment was, oh my God, I'm a jackass. And I was the guy, man. I was that guy in my circle of friends. I was telling everybody about, this gun, that gun, this holster, that. And to my credit and my maturity at the ripe young old age of 21 at the time, I quickly shut the fuck up and paid attention and learned. And it's only been recently here within the last couple of years that I reopened my mouth after I got a lot of learning. And even then, I do it carefully and I do it selectively. And I've been privileged to have some amazing experiences training and competing here recently. I owe a lot to the guys that I now call friends who I compete with here locally since I've moved to Pennsylvania. But man, I've trained with a lot of the greats, not all of them certainly yet. I'd like to train with more of them. I've done the commiserate NRA, instructor credential thing, and quickly found it to be lacking as far as the ability to show somebody how to defend oneself with a handgun. They're making improvements in that. I mean, no disrespect to a lot of my friends who follow that program and who are trying to push it forward. But I said, man, there's got to be a better way. So I started getting training and working with the people who are performing the best in the industry. And somewhere along the line, I thought, I might be able to impart some of this on some limited scope to some other people. And I've expanded my scope over the years. And at this time, I can confidently tell you that if you come to me and spend some time with me, at the very least, I'm for sure not one of the greats. I don't know if I ever will be, but at the very least, I can prepare you and get you to a point of proficiency to where if you wanted to go and train with a Jedlinski or a Groff or a Spalding or whoever, pick your awesome person here. If you wanted to go and train with somebody like that, I can get you ready for that, and I can help you develop a level of proficiency to where when you do go take that Hall of Fame awesome gun class, you won't be so far behind the curve that you're just trying to catch up and stay safe. And, thankfully, I've also developed a bit of a diagnostic ability to help guys fix certain problems within their shooting. I'm not, and I make no claims, right? I mean, I shoot some IDPA, shoot some 3-gun with my buddies and have fun. I shoot some skeet occasionally. If I compete, I'm going to be top third for sure, but, I'm not some division, national, state, whatever champion guy on the competition stage, but I can see things in guys shooting, and I can help guys and girls with specific fundamental deficiencies that they may or may not have. And it's kind of like, I'm not by any means saying I do it 100% right or perfect all the time either. I think one of the things that I've been blessed with is the fact that throughout my professional career, I've had to convey ideas and thoughts and justifications to folks as a professional manager and salesperson. I think I've developed a pretty good skill for communication in that realm. And as such, I can convey what are normally difficult ideas for people to grasp and do a good job of helping visually and physically and auditorially help them figure out exactly what it is we're trying to get them to do with a gun in their hand. So I've had some success with it for sure. I welcome anybody to come train with me. I'm certainly not waving the flag and saying that, screw SIG or screw Gunsight or screw Thunder Ranch or whoever, come see me. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, if you're here locally and you want to spend a good afternoon or a good weekend, hit me up and we'll make something work. And if nothing else, at a certain point with me, you'll top out and you'll reach a point where I can't give you anything else. And at that point, at least I'll be able to send you somewhere I'm good. So that's my elevator pitch for firearms training. And besides that, I'm just a smart ass who sells stuff for a living and makes jokes and has fun. So, I look forward to helping you guys out and being a good source. I'll do my damnedest. I try like hell to give credit where credit's due. But if you're listening, if you're one of my mentors, or if you're somebody that's taught me before and you're listening to me going, that's mine, and I don't give you credit, it's only because I forgot. My damn ADD brain didn't work correctly. But probably 90% of what I got somewhere else. So, just in full disclosure. And again, handguns, if you're looking for a ropes course or, an urban assault course with a rifle, sorry, my phone's broke. Who dis? That's just not me.
Very good, man. Very good. Dude, this is going to be awesome. But
Yeah.
sadly, and much to our respective chagrin, the other half of this podcast is something that Kent and I have discussed back and forth as far as how we really wanted to address this. So the second half of this podcast is going to be entitled, if you're watching this, is entitled, Don't Be a Victim. So while this is our inaugural first episode, just recently, in the past couple weeks, for those of you that might be living under a rock, there's been a couple more mass murder attempts or mass murders and shooting events, whatever you want to call them, where bad guys, evil people have gone out with the intent of doing harm to as many people as possible for various political and social and criminal intent and missions in life. Whatever the case of those individuals might be, it's something that, Kent and I want to talk about. We discussed going back and forth and doing a video on our respective channels where it was just us talking into the camera, and frankly, that's not the way we wanted to do things. We wanted to address this together. We wanted to do this on the podcast, and so that's what we're going to do. So for those that aren't aware, in the past week or week and a half now, there have been 3 mass shooter events taking place, one at the Garlic Festival, one in El Paso, Texas, and another in Dayton, Ohio. Dozens have been killed, many more wounded in those events. And quite frankly, as we can anticipate from the anti-gunners, or the people who are opposed to the Second Amendment, and by proxy the remainder of the Constitution. They have taken the opportunity to stand on top of the piles of dead bodies in each of those respective incidents, and the blood of the wounded and the fallen in those incidents, to champion their political agendas. Many of those have come across in the form of additional legislation. As always, the anger and blame towards the inanimate object. This being the firearm. At least two of the shooters I'm aware, or at least one of the shooter I'm aware of, used an AK-47 style. The other used a AR-15, as to be expected. And, well, we can't blame the evil bastards behind the trigger, so we're going to blame the things with the trigger, and those are the guns. Kent, why don't you get us started on this topic, bro?
Yeah. So we come to this begrudgingly. This is a otherwise happy moment for us, right? My buddy and I are launching our joint podcast venture for all of your benefit and for our enjoyment. Not something we want to have to talk about, clearly. That being said, we're not going to sit quiet and let things like this occur and not address them, because we should not have to sit quiet, be marginalized, let stuff like this occur and not address it. I'm going to make it perfectly, very easily and simply clear right now. If it's not apparent by our otherwise huge following, right? TJ and I are not here, racking in dough over this. Nor would we want to if we could. Our decision tonight to discuss this topic, if you'll notice the way this was titled. This was not titled, Dayton mass shooting or anything like that, which would have gotten 9 million more clicks and views. This was titled, "Who the hell are we?" and "Don't be a victim." So we're not here to profit from this. We're not here to profiteer. We're not here to stand on those graves. If you are listening to the sounds of our voices and you are in any way affected by any of this, mine and my dear friend TJ's heart goes out to you and your family. We send our love and our support. And if there's, and I truly fucking from the bottom of my heart mean this, if there's something we can do, or some education we can provide, or some light we can shed on our point or on our position on this, and it in any way helps you, we truly will do that, and we mean that, and our intentions are pure and clear. So to start that, I just would say that this is sad and it is tragic, but it by no means is the first time that humanity has shown its propensity to, quite frankly, be disgusting and awful. Since the beginning of recorded time, human beings have murdered, raped, and pillaged, and otherwise taken advantage of each other by force if necessary. It's 2019. There are 18-year-old children who were born in the year of September 11 who may in fact fight in Iraq and Afghanistan in the same war that their parents started, or might even still be participating in. This world is an ugly, dangerous, terrible, brutal, beautiful, amazing, awesome, and terrific place all at the same time. And if you can't recognize and can't appreciate that, then you're either blissfully ignorant or you're living under a fucking rock. So TJ, nor myself, nor any of the amazing people that we've gotten to meet in the gun community because of our mutual venture or because of our separate ventures or whatever, none of the amazing people that we've met, nor ourselves, are in any way responsible for this. We didn't press those triggers. The good people who made those guns didn't press those triggers. The psychiatrists and police officers and whoever else in those people's lives, parents, grandparents, mothers, sisters, brothers, daughters, friends, whatever, of those shooters, didn't press those triggers. To steal a turn of phrase from John Correa, some asshole pressed those triggers. And we will not, and I repeat, we will not say these jackasses' names or give them any notoriety or any satisfaction for what they've done. We will not give them publicity or anything else like that. CNN's doing too good a job of making them look amazing, so we're not going to do it. That said, all this tragedy and all this evil and all this terrible situation does not rise to the level of what's time to now limit people's rights, remove firearms, remove freedoms. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth Amendment be damned. We're coming for your stuff. We're going to red flag you. We're going to this. We're going to that. We simply, as a community, we're not standing for this crap. We're not going to sit back and just take it. We're going to discuss it. TJ and I probably, for the most part, 9 out of 10 things I say he agrees with, and 9 out of 10 things I say or he says I agree with. But we may differ just a smooch on some of this stuff. But
don't
damn it,
smooch me.
I'll smooch you anytime I want, baby. But damn it, we're not just gonna sit quietly and let stuff like this occur. So obviously the tragedy, as is the typical cycle, right? The tragedy happens. Of course, 1,000 other tragedies happen in Chicago and California and New York and wherever else all the time. But in true news media fashion, those things don't get reported. But the minute a Walmart gets shot up, every camera in the world and every talking head rushes to those cameras to pontificate and further their ratings and what have you. Solutions that are rendered are not solutions. They're just further infringements. And what never seems to happen, TJ, and I'm going to lead you into this one, is nobody takes any responsibility, right? And I know you're a big proponent of personal responsibility. I've had the privilege of interacting with you as you've given me parental advice. Most people know I'm about to be a dad. I happen to know TJ, and most people do or don't know, but you're one hell of a dad, right?
I like to try to be anyway.
Yeah, right. You're instilling personal responsibility in your children, and I know you and your wife run your house that way, but it seems for whatever reason that people that's a foreign concept. So I'm going to stop yammering because I could do this for 4 hours, and I want to hear you do some yammering about some personal responsibility and your thoughts on all this, really.
Yeah, so great coverage on that, Kit. I think you summarized it beautifully. But yeah, so before we jump on the personal responsibility train, I just want to point out that aside from, we're not going to make no mass shooter will ever be famous on this channel or through any endeavor that Kent and I take part in. Personally, I relish in the fact that knowing that those that have survived the encounter and surrendered to police when the time came, that they will probably have a train run on them in prison by some of the biggest, meanest people on the planet. So yeah, I hope some of the survivors' families take solace in that fact. While it doesn't bring your family back, watching somebody who is otherwise brutal and evil be equally brutalized and have evil brought upon them is quite comforting to me, as sick and twisted as that might sound. But yeah, it is what it is. But what almost makes it worse than the talking heads rushing to the cameras and the legislators coming through and trying to figure out what laws should they make now. I think what pisses me off more than that is the false or phony outrage. We have all these people, they rush to the cameras to stand on, and I said it earlier, but to stand on the bodies of these victims to further their agendas. Newsflash, I use that word a lot, folks. I'm going to warn you now. But newsflash, those exponentially more people are killed in inner cities on a weekly, if not daily basis, and not a damn word gets said about them. Not a damn word gets said about victims of gang violence, victims of domestic abuse and assault. Horrible, horrific things like acid attacks or knife attacks or people driving vehicles through crowds. Nothing gets said about that. And that false outrage, if that's not virtue signaling, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But another thing that's really frustrating to me is that while these events are tragic, is, to speak to the personal responsibility piece, is that people haven't realized that there is a lot of evil in this world. And I like to lead a very quiet and boring life. Every time we have friends come over, I try to tell them, I'm like, listen, y'all aren't missing anything. We are not doing anything. We're adulting, we're paying our bills, and we're raising children, and that's about the extent of our excitement. We don't go out and party. We don't go out and, dance the night away like we used to. We avoid clubs. We avoid crowds. I don't even like going to those shopping centers. But you know what? That doesn't stop me from carrying a gun every day and everywhere that I can possibly carry it. Because sometimes while you're not looking for a bad thing, sometimes that bad thing might be looking for you. And you just so happen to be in its way. Nobody dives into the ocean looking to get bit by a shark. Every now and then, a shark comes and takes a nice bite out of you, and you didn't even see it coming.
Is it a baby shark? Do.
Oh, your kid's almost here, man. Trust me, that song's gonna haunt your dreams. But with that being said, it's about personal responsibility, folks. Everybody needs to wake up, and if you haven't considered carrying a gun, maybe you really need to start giving it some serious thought. Nobody here, at least between Kent and I, and nobody in our friend circle who carries a gun, looks for an opportunity to go pull that trigger or to draw down on somebody and be the quintessential hero. We're not here to white knight this shit, okay? But the fact of the matter is that, when you get into a car, you wear a seatbelt, and when you're in your house, you have fire extinguishers. Not because you're going to intentionally crash or intentionally start a fire, but because sometimes that stuff happens and you need to be prepared to respond to it. The national average response time for emergency services is approximately 20 minutes. But those are some old numbers, so I'm gonna cut first responders a little bit of slack. Let's cut it down to a national average response time of 5 minutes. Now I want you to envision you're in a fight for your life with someone who's even unarmed. Let's just say that they're bigger and stronger and faster and more skilled than you in a particular art form. Judo, mixed martial arts, boxing, whatever the case might be. Let's just say it's Mike Tyson. Would you be willing to be in an unadulterated, no referee present, no rules, no holds barred fight with Mike Tyson, who wants to kick your ass or kill you for 5 minutes before backup or help arrived? I'll wait. Yeah, I didn't think so. The reality of the situation is no one is coming to help you. You need to be prepared to help yourself. And with that is a double-edged sword, though. Not only do you need to be prepared to help yourself, if you're not willing to carry a gun, you should be, and even if you are willing to carry a gun, you should still be carrying medical equipment. Let's rewind back to the shooter in Las Vegas. What was it, 50-something plus people that were killed in that event? How many of them could have been saved if, everybody was carrying a tourniquet or a blowout kit to some degree? Everywhere I go, even when I fly on planes, or if I have to, as opposed to flying by myself, apparently I'm Superman. I realize what I said was stupid. Every time I have to travel somewhere, obviously I can't carry my gun on the aircraft. There's plenty of places where I go where I'm prohibited from carrying a firearm, much to my dismay. But damn it, I tell you right now, I've got 2 tourniquets in my carry-on bag and a blowout kit, just in case something pops off.
Yep.
So again, it's about personal responsibility.
That incident in Vegas is a very good example of what we're talking about, for several reasons. One being, I hate to use stereotypes, but this was a country music festival in Vegas. For lack of a better term, these were our people, right, TJ? I mean, these were. This was our crowd, right? This was who we would be associated with, and yet they were disarmed, not by their own choice, many of them, and many of them still stepped into the breach and helped their fellow citizen. And there's numerous examples of people in that situation fucking dragging bodies, right, from one end of the scene to the other, and loading pickup trucks and blood everywhere, and guys doing
makeshift ambulances, yeah.
Makeshift ambulances, fucking belts and ripped t-shirts as tourniquets. those men and women, while being particularly amazing members of our society, could have taken one further step. And had they have had a 4-hour freaking stop the bleed course and some basic medical equipment on their persons, that death toll, I believe, could be a third of what it was. And I'm not saying the incident should have happened. I'm not saying it's okay that things like this happen, but simply that, if anything, that incident shows that the human animal has the capacity to do some amazing things when it's challenged. And some people in that situation did some very heroic, very amazing things, but yet we're ill-equipped. And I'm wearing me some blue jeans right now, and I got an ankle med kit wrap right under my blue jeans, and I could go to the country concert right now. Nobody would know a damn thing. And quite honestly, I'm so past the point of giving a shit anymore. Yeah, okay, I got a med kit on. What do you care? Like, why does it matter?
Exactly.
You know, these folks showed in that situation anyway that a willing person can do some amazing things, let alone a willing, well-trained, equipped, and capable person. So this is something that TJ's heard me say before, but I'll say again. Now is the time for the members in our community. If you're listening to the sound of my voice and you're on my team, right? You're pounding the steering wheel or you're pounding your keyboard going, hell yeah, brother. So if that's you, right? I get DMs like that, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Hell yeah, brother. Okay, man. When you typed me that message, did you have your gun on? Did you have your med kit wrapped around your ankle? Were you prepared? Were you really, honestly? Don't tell me whether you were or not, because were you? Is the real question. Were you able to deal with it? You're hearing the sound of my voice right now. You're driving to work. Are you within reach of a med kit in your vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, statistically, you're more likely to come across a medical emergency on the highway than you are a shooting incident.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I in fact have had that. I can say that I absolutely, if not entirely, saved a life, contributed to saving a life just because of that, right? Those things are real, and they happen quite more frequently than stuff like this. But it comes down to the same old thing, right? You can't be a firefighter without a hose and an extinguisher. You can't be an accountant without a calculator. And you can't save the life of yourself or your fellow citizens without a med kit or a gun. It's not a possibility.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. You're not saving a life without a med kit or a gun.
Yeah.
I want everybody who just heard that to really think about that for a second, because everyone, riding the waves and the backlash from the false outrage of the mainstream media is sitting here thinking that guns are only meant for killing people. Here's the thing: when all hell breaks loose and you got somebody walking into the Walmart behind you with an AK-47, you're either equipped to deal with the aftermath or equipped to prevent or lessen the aftermath.
Absolutely.
Or you're fodder.
Absolutely.
It's cold and hard to say that, but that's the truth.
Absolutely.
Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. It's that simple. You're either going to stop the threat, deal with the threat after the fact, or you're going to be a victim of that threat.
I know.
And real quick, I'm glad you touched on or we went on to kind of the tangent of the Las Vegas shooting, because here's the thing: that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about with regards to first responders' capabilities.
Yep.
There were cops all over that place. There were medical teams all over that place, more or less just to deal with the drunken assholes that typically are synonymous with country music concerts. And you guys can't see me, but I'm using air quotes around country music.
Tractor rap.
Yeah, Yeti cooler, pop country. I've got a shit. My sedan has more dirt on it than most of your pickup trucks. But anyway,
I love you.
the point. But case in point is that there were there were first responders in force at that location. And,
no, there absolutely were.
And the civilians that were in the line of fire saved exponentially more lives because the rest of the first responders were running around trying to deal with a crazy situation.
Yep.
So don't think that helped. That 911 is going to magically, it's like rubbing a lamp and a genie is going to magically appear and save you.
Not only that, but let's do our fellow citizens, the members of law enforcement and EMT and fire and everything else, a service by touching on, who am I? I'm a dude with a gun and a med kit and a kid soon and a wife and friends and brothers and sisters and mother and loved ones and everything else. You know who that cop is? A dude with a med kit, a gun, a radio, and some friends and some brothers and sisters and a wife and everything else. These are fellow human beings, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
We put these guys and girls in such harrowing and terrible circumstances for very minimal pay and very little benefits when you think on a grand scale. And people have this Walt Disney-like expectation that when the dudes in blue show up, oh, you gonna get it now. They're gonna stop everything. That's a dude with a gun. You know what? I'm a dude with a gun. No disrespect intended or implied to any member of law enforcement, but I probably put in more time with my pistol than most of those guys do.
Well, yeah, and I really do hope it's something that I have to clarify or quantify or qualify these statements. But yeah, don't mistake anything that we're saying to be anti-cop or anything like that.
I'm couching it because there's that one Antifa jackwagon behind his fucking bandolier that's going, yeah, fuck them cops, and just so we're clear.
No, it's not I've got family that's cops, and anybody who's anti-cop, get the fuck out. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
At the same time, while I got nothing against cops, I don't rely on the government or any agent thereof to save my ass.
Yep, that's
that simple. Look at firefighters. God love them. They normally show up. The house is already on fire by the time they get there.
Absolutely.
Nobody shows up before. No cop or firefighter has stopped a crime or a fire. It's always been in progress.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, until we get to the real true point of like Minority Report or whatever that movie was.
That's always going to be the case. Yep.
That's always going to be the way it is.
Yeah.
And we have to face facts, but those law enforcement, you look to 9/11, you look to these tragedies. Absolutely, these people are saints and heroes in our society and run towards awful tragedy on the regular. But the point TJ is making is a very cogent one and needs to be driven home with you folks. The tragedy's already fucking occurring, okay? Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming. That's the problem. The whole problem here is bad thing happened. We call good guys, but the advantage of surprise and initiation is in the hands of evil, unfortunately. And there's instances where good detective work and good police work and good criminal investigation has thwarted all kinds of terrible things. It's not as though it never happens, but it damn sure never makes the news. Most of the time, what makes the news is something ugly and terrible kicks off, and these poor bastards got to come on, do it, fix it, or stop it. And they have a response time. Whatever their response time is, it's going to be exponentially greater than that of somebody with requisite training and equipment and skill set who's already on site, i.e. us, i.e. you, right? So if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you're not carrying your gear and you're not training with your gear, I don't know what to tell you. I love my friend TJ on the other end of this computer and microphone, and I don't wish him any harm, but I tell you what, if some shit's going to kick off somewhere, I wish he was there. Not because I don't want him to have to go through it, but because, damn, dude, if you want somebody on the other end of terrible, it's somebody like him. And I wish the same for myself, and I wish the same for all the other well-trained, well-skilled, because there's a lot of us out here. That's the thing that you anti-gun folks and you non-believers in this all don't want to recognize. I spend a lot of time at a shooting range with a lot of really amazing people, and most of them could deal with a lot of what we've seen happen here. Okay? That's not a God complex. That's not a white knight syndrome. That's not a desire to be a hero. The God's honest truth is that, you know, a well-equipped person could absolutely stop something like this. And a well-trained person could as well. And I want to see that. It's John Lovell in his video series has out right now. It's open season on active killers. He wants us to be training for active killers and writing the word active killer on our targets and doing all this stuff. And, you know, he put a very heartfelt, personalized plea on his camera. And you could see him lighting up with tears almost as he's saying it. He's saying, God willing, God help you. I hope it happens when I'm here because I will embarrass you. I will fucking burn you down and embarrass you. And that's what I want to see. I want to see it. TJ and I hold each other to that standard. And a lot of the guys that we train with and other well-intentioned, skilled individuals hold the same standard. God damn it. I want to see one of these jackasses kick some shit off. And it's not just a male thing. There's plenty of really amazingly equipped female shooters and trainers and medical people and everything else in this community. I want some of this shit to go down in front of some of these other people and watch how quickly they mop the floor with this jackass. Like this dude that tried his boogaloo nonsense at the Federal building and they played duck hunter with him. I mean, they just absolutely massacred that jackass. You know, he crawled out of his mom's basement and thought he was going to pull some shit. And he showed up to the big boys league and, you know, he got cut from the team real quick. That's what I want to see happen across the board. So if you're here and you're not inspired by now to train and get your shit together, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So with that, there's been naturally I think we do need to address the elephant in the room, and that is all this bullshit legislation that we see coming down the pipeline. So Kent, you and I obviously red flag laws have been in the news quite a bit lately. That seems to be everyone's default setting. You know, somebody did something bad. What laws can we make to make bad people not do more bad things? When I mean, it's so amazing that they just don't understand. Hey, there were laws being broken when those events took place. What makes you think that more laws are going to do it?
I think we should just ban mass shootings.
You know, I think taking another human life unjustifiably, you know, in cold blood, it should also be a law. Yeah. That's a good one. We could make that law.
Unfortunately, the term for our elected representatives has morphed over the years into lawmaker, right?
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah, words mean things, man.
What? Yeah, like that's what they do. Lawmakers make laws. Unfortunately, I don't know. There's 20,000 laws on the books pertaining to firearms right now.
Yeah, across the country. Yeah, that's about right.
There's still dead people, right? Murder's illegal. Certainly, premeditation is illegal.
Oddly enough, some of the highest crime, like violent crime-ridden areas with firearms, are cities and areas that have the most strict gun laws. Imagine that.
It's almost like it's an inverse relationship or something.
It's downright paradoxical.
It is. I'm flummoxed. Man, we're killing it on the $30 words.
Yeah, I know. It's because we. Just a little side note: Kent and I read the dictionary to each other at bedtime. We both put our Bluetooth headsets in, and we just don't get off the phone until we hit till we can't hear the other one breathing anymore, and it just turns into heavy, violent snoring. But we might actually be educated. We might be actually educated people, not just bald, bearded dad bod wearing gun lovers. We might actually have a brain in our head. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Although I do fit that stereotype quite clearly. I am bald with a beard and I have the dad bod going on. But what the hell?
Yeah, same.
Doggone it, I'm smart enough and people like me. Anyway, but yeah, so here's the thing with these red flag laws, guys. And a lot of people have thrown around the term, SS, Gestapo, a lot of likening the activity a lot to, Third Reich Nazi Germany, circa 1940s. And To be honest, I feel that that's a little disingenuous. I think it's a little inaccurate. Truth be told, red flag laws I think are much worse. They're not necessarily following some type of political goal or agenda, despite what you might believe about, the Nazis or Hitler or any of those other, crazy people. The bottom line is there was a method to their madness. There was a deeper intent and a goal that they had in mind. They were being driven by a strategy. Red flag laws are going to turn this shit into a witch hunt.
Yep.
And it sounds preposterous. It really does. But I want you to think about it. The way some of these red flag laws are being written, anybody can report anyone else. They're ex parte, which means the accused does not have to be present for an extreme risk protection order to be placed against them. There is no requirement for a preponderance of evidence in those cases. I'll give you a case in point. Look up in the news for events of swatting, right? It's really common in the gaming community where, one kid's getting his butt kicked in Fortnite or Call of Duty or whatever the case might be, and calls in a 911 report of a hostage situation at the kid that's winning's house, and the next thing you know, you've got a SWAT team stacked up 6 deep on their door, kicking it in. Or let's look at the war on drugs as another perfect example. How many times in recent history have law enforcement teams and drug enforcement agents stacked up on a door and kicked in grandpa's door because somebody suspected them of selling drugs or illegal narcotics, or they got the house number wrong? If you don't think that, a lot of these things can be triggered by knee-jerk reactions, by the irrational fear of the ignorant and downright crazy, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. That's what red flag laws are turning into.
It's really unfortunate that people are so willing to push their ideology that they don't care who it hurts in the process. And it's very obvious that that's how they feel when it's okay if an innocent gun owner is the victim of some sort of, unjust prosecution, or God forbid, like you just brought up, swatting incident or whatever. We hit the red flag button and all of a sudden the SWAT team stacked at the door. I'm armed all the time in my home. We're prepared for this kind of thing. That door flies open, there's a very high propensity for some bad stuff to occur. And for a lot of these people, that's simply collateral damage, and they're okay with the outcome as long as it leads to what they eventually want to see, which is the disarmament of our population. And I'm not willing to be a statistic or a tossed aside casualty. I know you're not, and I don't want that for your family or mine. It's nonsense, or anybody else's. It's bullshit. I mean, there's plenty of things in this world that I don't agree with. Okay, I don't want to get too emotional or too far personal, but my viewpoint on abortion, for example, has drastically changed since the death of a child. Okay, I don't have to take it any further than that for the point of YouTube. Somebody wants to talk to me about it, they can hit me up or whatever. But I have very strong emotional opinions and beliefs regarding the rights of a child. Yet I would never in a million years dream of calling the fucking hit squad on somebody who had an abortion and think that that's okay because it's just collateral damage and it's all right because it's wrong. What they're doing is wrong. I believe what they're doing is wrong. Therefore, I'm going to use the government as a tool against them. That's you can call it Nazi shit or SS shit or whatever else. It's cowardice is what it is, and it's unbelievably sick. You're not against guns. If you're for gun control, you're not against guns. You just want your team to have them.
Yeah, well, the operative word in gun control is control.
Right. You're not anti-gun. You just want the people on your side to have the guns, obviously. Because, quite frankly, what you really are is too much of a little pusswagon to come take them yourself, so you're going to send a third party to do it for you. And that's unbelievable. It's nonsense. And Nobody deserves that in either sense. The police officers, law enforcement, military, whoever else, those guys and girls, their job's dangerous enough without having to go, do a political death march and start ripping guns out of the safes of everyday Americans. That's obviously a crazy outcome and extreme. But on the other hand, we've seen things like this go this way. We're not only just speculating. We literally have seen this happen. Just happened in Maryland. We lost a police officer and an innocent citizen in Maryland over a disagreement about whether or not somebody should still have their gun rights. He fought for his rights, and the police fought to detain him and do their jobs, and now there's dead people. And it's a sad shame. It's not right. It shouldn't have to happen. So, if you're willing to murder me for your ideology, then quite frankly, you're no different to me than the terrorist or anybody else in the world. So,
yeah,
that's where I put you. If you're literally willing to watch my blood show up for your own ideology, then who are you and how are you any different than any of the other evil that you're telling us that you want to limit their ability or access to their tools? You're just the same. So,
absolutely.
I can hear the helicopters landing in my backyard as we speak, but it is what it is. We're not the problem. We're not bad people. We're everyday taxpayers. We're citizens. We're family men. We're your coworkers and friends and neighbors and everything else. And by and large, the most of us would do anything for anybody. I know my co-host here, TJ, would. I know I would. I know most of the people we've met would. I've met amazing people in this gun community, and to see them all vilified, sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of have that self-deprecating thing go on where I think to myself, maybe I am the problem. But there's so many other people that it's like, no, clearly I'm not the problem, because some of the most amazing people I've met think of the same mind as I do, and I'm proud to be a member of this team and this community, and my friend here, TJ, and I will do our damnedest to represent us well, and that's what we hope to bring with this podcast. So, red flag laws. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think another thing that we need to start doing is taking the air, or at least not necessarily taking the air out of the arguments from the opposition, but really bolstering our own positions and arguments and things. I think,
we're always on the defensive.
Yeah, one of the things that irritate, and we do it to ourselves though. Watch any of these talking heads on either side of this debate, and you'll inevitably hear somebody throw out a buzzword like assault rifle or fully semi-automatic or who needs an AR-15 or whatever the case, or the Second Amendment's about hunting, blah, blah, blah. Instead of attacking the point of the argument, the quote-unquote pro-gun person or representative gets stuck talking about semantics. Technically speaking, it's not an assault weapon because an assault weapon, blah, blah, blah. Yes, asshole, it's an assault weapon. It's mine. It's not meant for hunting. It's for shooting bad guys in the face. What's your point?
Yeah.
I would love to see that. But you know what the downside is it's going to be a long time before you start seeing more and more people doing that. Case in point, organizations like the NRA, or more specifically the NRA in and of itself, you have never seen a president or representative of the NRA at any board meeting or NRA annual meeting or whatever the case might be come out holding an AR-15 or an AK-47 or a quote-unquote modern sporting rifle above their head saying, "From my cold dead hands." It's always a flintlock or a double-barrel shotgun or some hunting implement for the FUDs of the world to show. It takes. I'll be honest. It takes this. It neuters what the real intent of the Second Amendment is. We're sitting here telling you. I will tell you vehemently that the Second Amendment is not about hunting. I don't need any type of government doctrine or document or permission to forage for food and take game on my private property. I sure as hell don't need it to make sure that my family and I and those that I hold dear are kept safe.
Yep.
So while it's cliche at this point, it gets thrown around a lot. That oath of office that every person that has served in the federal government to any capacity takes clearly states all enemies, foreign and domestic. That doesn't mean just the bank robber or the guy holding up the local Quickie Mart. It means that the government agents that are trying to impose will or restrict rights or reduce our liberties on a daily basis. It sucks to say that.
Yeah.
I know that but they say if you're not on a government list somewhere by your 30s, you're not doing something right. But guys, I hate to tell you, newsflash, the Second Amendment ain't about hunting. It's for stacking bodies. The founding fathers didn't come out and say, you know what, guys, I know we just fought off an invading military and government. You know what? Let's lock in our right to shoot at Bambi.
Yep.
That you know what? We really need to do that. No, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
So, two things. One, I'm buying you a Sling'N Lead podcast shirt with the logo on the front and the word newsflash on the back. So that's number one. Number two, if you consider, I had this conversation the other night with somebody about the Bible. And chill, I know, guns and Bibles. Just fucking hear me out before you unfollow and dislike and whatever else. But damn it, if you read the document from the eyes of the person who wrote it, from the perspective of the individual who did the writing, the intent really becomes clear, right? Mm-hmm. Just like the Bible, the various books in the New Testament are a clear retelling of the same basic story of something they all experienced together. The Second Amendment, as well as the Constitution as a whole, is very much a breakup letter to a bad government. It's not us, it's you. Leave us alone. We're not going to take it anymore. We're done with your nonsense. It's over. We're starting a new thing, right? So if you read the document from the intent of
this is my new boyfriend. His name is Freedom and Liberty.
Right, exactly.
He's got a motorcycle and a leather jacket, and we're going to be happy forever. Yeah,
exactly. If you think of what these people went through as they were dealing with every one of the men involved in the founding of our nation was an otherwise successful, well-established individual within the government, state, commonwealth, whatever that they were a part of, right?
Yeah.
These dudes
they were of some higher socioeconomic strata in their home country of England.
Right.
Like you don't come to America not a landowner and just magically be part of the government. Like they were aristocracy from from their home country. It's the way it was, yeah.
And even they all saw the failings and flaws of that which had brought them otherwise great success. My point being, they all had a whole shitload to lose, right?
Oh yeah.
These were men who very easily could have continued to roll over, taken what the government handed them and gave them, and continued to take these abuses, and quite frankly, would have lived amazing lives, and their families would have lived amazing lives, and they would have had all the land and all the livestock and all the freaking wealth and beneficiaries of all this stuff. And it would not nearly, the principles that we're talking about would not nearly have affected them as much as it did their fellow countrymen. And yet they still fought. And yet they still risked all of that, right? For a principle, for a belief system and a structure that we hold dear today. And not so many of us realize that. If you look at that document, it would be as though you or I today would write a manifesto to our employer and say, you know what, we're not taking your shit anymore. We're out, right?
Yeah, we're unionizing, motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same principle. And to think for any moment in time that the thoughts of these men had anything to do with recreational or otherwise gathering of meat ballistically, and make the argument that it's about hunting and farming and has nothing to do with the fighting off of tyrannical government. That's just the most ridiculous,
or bad guys, just general criminal elements.
Well, sure, but the point to be made is these dudes just got done doing that, right?
Yeah.
It'd be like saying that Pele wrote a soccer manuscript, but wasn't actually talking about shooting soccer balls. He was really talking about lacrosse or something. It's retarded. These guys just did the tyrannical government overthrow thing. And now here we are, only a few hundred. This is the other point I love to make about this. Everybody talks about this like it's the crazy, distant, way off in the past.
It's back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, right?
Yeah, right. We're talking 200 and however many years ago. In the whole span of human history, that's like that. It's nothing.
Oh,
nobody,
yeah.
Nobody thinks of it like that.
Yeah, let's put this into perspective. There is a chance that your great-grandfather had a living relative that was present for that shit.
Yeah. Yep. So we're talking 6, 7, 8 generations ago, depending.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's not that far back in the bloodline.
Nope, not at all.
Especially when we talk about all these other things in our value system that supposedly came from 40, 50, 60, 80 generations ago in our bloodline that we hold dear. This stuff's real recent. So I just want to point out to people that the overarching founding principles of what make this representative republic, one more time, representative republic. If you haven't clued it in by now and you don't know what I'm talking about, Google that shit, because this we're a democracy shit is kind of you're a touch off base. Look it up. But the things that make this so great are, quite frankly, the gusto that these men had. And I keep saying these men because there wasn't a female signature on the document, but let's be honest, their wives and daughters and whoever else, they had a lot to lose too, right?
Oh, well, I think that it's quite simple. Had the outcome of the war gone a different way, their especially the leaders, the prospective leaders of what would ultimately become America at the time, there's none of this, okay, you guys lost, now fall back in line and do as I say. No, they would. Anybody see Braveheart? You saw what happened to Mel Gibson at the end of that movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
The medieval torture shit. That's what would have happened to them.
Yep.
They literally had everything to lose, and it was more than just their livelihood.
Yep. A lot of them.
But that goes for their wives too. Their wives and their children.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but there's no compromise, and that's the way we've got to be. Because sadly, every time we. Kent, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't compromise indicate in and of itself that both sides gain something from a mutual agreement?
Yeah, that's that whole we read the dictionary at night to each other thing. But yeah, anybody who's spent any time in the gun community has seen the cake analogy, where in 1933 they came for a piece of cake, and from 33 forward they keep compromising with us by taking more and more and more of our cake. Right?
Yeah. No one's baking any more cake. That's the problem.
Yeah. Number one, nobody's baking any more cake. And number two, nobody offered me no cookies or ice cream as a substitute for my cake.
Right. Exactly. So
I am a fat dude on the internet at midnight talking about cookies, ice cream, and cake. Yeah. But you know what? Seriously.
You're making me hungry too, bro. But no, but that's just it. Everyone, and that's one of the I would love to be able to say, yeah, you know what? There's got to be a logical explanation. There must be something that could be done, right? No.
Sure.
No. The answer is every time somebody comes and says, hey, it's common sense reform. Let's do this. It will save so many lives. Yeah, the downside is I don't believe you. One, I don't think it will save any lives, and two, all you're doing is restricting me. Joe Blow with evil intentions over there ain't getting fazed by your quote-unquote common sense.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
And unfortunately, our representatives and those who have claimed in the gun rights community to speak for us and the whole chess versus checkers argument and all this other shit, this would be a lot easier to stomach if you said, you know what, I would never cave or collapse or soften up on red flag laws, because I think that's a true form of stigma in our community, and that's unacceptable. But
it's that witch hunt.
If you wanted to make a bargain with me and say, dude, I'll tell you what, give up your Magpul T60s, but in exchange we're going to wipe out the NFA. I might get a little bit. I mean, you might get me to at least sniff towards the bowl a little bit. I'm not saying I'd eat the kibble, but I damn sure sniff towards the bowl. Just a touch.
We'd at least be more open to furthering the discussion.
Right. But there is none of that. There is no, you know what, God damn it, these mass shootings are terrible, and it is a tragedy. And, you know, certainly a subset of our population is equipped, capable, and ready to handle such a thing, and is carrying the med gear, and is carrying the gun, and is capable. I'll tell you what, guys, can we please get a 20-round mag restriction in exchange for, I don't know, national reciprocity for concealed carry?
Yeah, we'll do away with any and all gun control or gun-free zones.
Right.
But we're going to limit magazine capacities
for
those guns that you're going to carry. I'm not going to cave on having the closest thing to military weaponry and arms that I possibly can, because if you read the documentation behind the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, the people that wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights kind of go into explain and expand upon what they meant by certain things. And the intent of the Second Amendment was so that each and every individual was equally capable to stand up to an invading or tyrannical military. That means having arms and equipment and training to employ those implements in defense of oneself, state, and nation. So I'm not giving up that stuff, but hey, you guys can't carry anything more than 20 rounds on your person when you're out and about in your handgun or whatever the case might be. But at the same time, if you see a sign that says no guns allowed, you tell them to screw off and you carry your gun in anyway, because that's against the law, right? Okay, that's a compromise in my opinion. I think that both sides are gaining something on that.
Right. But that's the point. There is no, you and I are spitballing these compromises out, but their version of the compromise is, well, we're only going to take these things from you, and we're going to compromise and let you keep the others.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna bash you over the head with a bat, but don't worry, it's gonna be a small bat.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. So. The idea that for some reason, and this, man, I need to be. See, this is the problem with having failed twice before to get this. I'm very close to saying some really nefarious shit, but I'll recuse myself and say
we'll at least save it for another episode.
Yeah, we could do that. But the elitism that is expressed in a lot of these conversations is another thing that really upsets me, and I feel like I have to touch on it, and so I'm going to, because it's our show and we can do what we want. So here's the scoop. You're not letting us do anything. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And also, you don't hold the moral high ground on the conversation in any way, shape, or form. And if you wonder who you is, who I'm talking to, it's that little jackwagon on Facebook who, drinks his latte in the morning and decides, I'm going to get on the internet and show those gun guys a piece of my mind. You know what, dude? I quite frankly, I used to engage, and I'm sick of engaging with these jackwagons, because the truth of the matter is this. You're not superior. Your intellectual argument does not hold any further basis than mine or TJ's or anybody else's does. Your opinions or life experience are not in any way more shape or form valuable than mine are. And just because you're part of a group of people that sees themselves as superior and holding the moral high ground in the conversation does not in fact mean that you are. So be very careful in the way that you approach this, because we didn't press those triggers and we didn't hurt those kids and we didn't hurt those people in any of these circumstances.
Well, it's all virtue signaling, right?
They
Wave their flag like they're champions of a cause.
Mm-hmm.
Flesh, waving a flag doesn't make you any more of a champion for a cause than standing in a garage makes you a mechanic. All these people that say, oh, your guns are bad. You don't need your guns. You don't need to be protected. Okay, guns are bad. People are dying. Okay, how about you go to Compton or Chicago or any other downtown area that's known for gun crime and gang-related activity, and how about you go down there with your little self and your pink hat and say, stop this now, and watch how far that gets you.
Yeah, well, that's just it, right?
Yeah. So,
the same party and group of people that thinks it's okay to slaughter millions of babies a year
exactly
wants to talk to me about how I don't care about the children. And
we can even take a less dramatic approach than the abortion thing. People who are vehemently anti-gun and taking on that position, what's the number one thing that they want to do to guys like you and me? Maybe not even do themselves, because God forbid they do that. But they would love to see the cops or the government come in, put their boot in our neck, and put a bullet in our head.
Yep.
They would love to see us, the non-violent, be addressed with nothing but violence and extreme prejudice.
Right.
Talk about doublespeak.
Yep.
Guns are bad. Okay, well then how come as soon as somebody double parks and blocks in your Prius, the first thing you do is call somebody with a gun and demand that they be beaten and arrested? Give me a break, man.
So folks, just for total transparency here, one of the benefits of this failing the first two times, and we had to do it a third time, is TJ and I have just gotten more pissed off over the last three goes of this.
This is a true statement.
So I got to tell you what, man, you guys have absolutely gotten the stone cold, no holds barred, exactly what we think version at this point. We might have been polished on take one, but by take three at midnight, I got to tell you what, man, I can't wait to re-listen to this and just revel in our honesty. Because you know what? Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for us, right? There are other people in the gun community who have made careers and lives out of this and maybe can't afford to lose a following or a sponsor or whatever else, and might have to feel a little couched. And I don't begrudge, because we know those people, and I don't begrudge anybody their need to soften their speak a little bit so that they don't hurt their potential for income or whatever else. But you're getting raw TJ, and I think raw Kent here in the flesh. You're getting. This might as well at this point be a phone call between the two of us that we just decided.
I've already put the explicit content warning.
Right.
Subject matter and language may not be suitable for all viewers in the description of this. So.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like we're not, and we're not doing that. Just so we're being perfectly clear. Like him and I aren't going to hang up from this and call each other and be like, "Oh, look how awesome we are."
No. Well, here's the thing, man. You can't support the Second Amendment and not support all the others as well.
Yeah,
I support everybody with their ability to say whatever they want, however they want, whenever they want.
Yep.
It's just that simple. So I'm not gonna retard any guest on this show, or censor or any of that crap. Your thoughts are your own, and that's the way it goes. You come watch or listen to this podcast, you're at least gonna get a harsh dose of reality. You might not be the correct reality, but it'll be the best damn reality that we can give you based on our perspective on certain things.
Yeah. No, God knows we don't have all the answers, but man, I just this feels cathartic at this point. I'm almost glad it went the way it went, where we had to do take one and take two, so we got the willies out of us, and this one is just freaking This is exactly how we feel about this. I don't even care about the timestamp or where we're at hour-wise or anything else. Have we left anything uncovered or untouched in this that we originally intended to hit?
No, brother. I honestly don't think we can. I think we've beaten this dead horse quite a bit.
All right, man. Well, I wanted to make sure because,
No, and here's the thing, though. You know what the really sad thing is, Kent?
What's that?
There will be another opportunity to talk about this exact same topic in the near future. Because people don't learn.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Give it time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And
you know,
yeah.
I really hope that I am dead wrong about that.
No, but you're not. I know. And you couldn't be more right. And, not to continue to invoke the names of other people or whatever, but Lovell during his one video on the subject, John Lovell said, or no, excuse me, it wasn't Lovell, it was Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear said, as we speak, the next murderer is plotting to murder you and take your family from you.
Yeah, and
he really said that in his video, and his video got released while that other sick little pusswagon was doing what he was doing. So, yeah, you're probably right. And, I'm not going to invoke those words, but it's absolutely true. Right now, right this very minute on, 12:26 a.m. on the 15th of August of 2019, there is some piece of shit thinking about doing something horrible. And if you are that piece of shit and for whatever reason you happen to hear my voice, go get help. I'm not going to talk tough to you. If for whatever reason your life has taken you to that point where you really feel as though the only out for you is to slay a bunch of strangers in cold blood, dude, my phone number is all over the internet, and my every way you can find me, Green Mountain Defense. Call me up, talk to me, talk to somebody. The world does not have to end this the way that you folks seem to think it does. And it's not the only way to get notoriety is to go murder a bunch of innocent strangers. And that being said, that's my plea to please give us the opportunity to help. And if you don't give us the opportunity to help, you better goddamn well be sure that we're not wherever you pull your nonsense. Because if we are, you're not going to get very far.
Amen to that, man.
That's all I can say. Dude, this has been really amazing. It's going to be an awesome journey with you to continue and to keep putting out great content like we've already been. It's nice to make it official and team up. Thank you so much for everything you've done and all the help that you've given me and just in life and in general with this stuff. I look forward to continuing to do awesome stuff with you. Thanks for all your technical expertise in making all this shit work, because God knows if it was up to me, there'd be like 4 people on an AM radio that could hear this. So
that would still be more subscribers than we have now. Just want to put that out there.
Okay, but someday our droves and droves of fans will go back and listen to episode 1 and just be awestruck. But anywho, at least we can believe that. So, dude, what do we got coming up? Plugs, people get a hold of you, all that kind of stuff, and we'll wrap this bad boy.
Yeah, guys, check us out in the description. My personal channel, Kent's personal channel, gear reviews, training, gun reviews, all the stereotypical gun tuber type shenanigans you might find, because damn it, this is a great hobby, a great organization, a great community to be part of, and we're happy to do it. Links will be in the description, but you can find me on YouTube, Sling'N Ginger, and Kent with Green Mountain Defense. Also on Instagram by the same names. Come hit us up there, very active there. Facebook not so much because, well, it's so 2000 and late. Facebook, who still uses Facebook? But no, seriously, Instagram, YouTube, you guys can hit us up there. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Go check out some of our other podcasts that have been hosted on my personal channel before. Also, keep an eye out for those to be downloaded and shared on the podcast outlets and on this channel as we progress and move forward. We're going to start pulling that stuff over here in the near future. Something that we did want to start doing, and Kent, I know we've already been on this for an hour and a half, and it's after midnight your time, but obviously the point of this is we want to help people get better and get more skilled, So a segment that we're going to start doing, you can expect this with every show, is the homework assignment or Kent's assignment for the week. So essentially, the way this is going to work is at the end of every show, Kent or I or any of our other guests, because we will have instructors on the show as well, will come up with a drill that you guys and you listeners at home or driving home from work can take with you the next time you go to the range. So, Kent, why don't you go ahead and hit us with your homework assignment for this week?
Sure. So, one of the things that I wish more people would do is to spend some time in dry fire. And collectively, I can hear the sign and remember, oh, everybody tells us to dry fire. Rather than giving you a particular dry fire drill or technique or anything like that this evening, what I'm going to ask you to do is to look up either Steve Anderson or Ben Steger on Amazon and purchase their training manuals on dry fire practice. So rather than me giving you a specific dry fire tip or drill or task or anything like that, get some knowledge and education and pick up, dry fire reloaded from Ben Steger or refinement and repetition from Steve Anderson, and get those books in your house and in your life, and start repping some of the dry fire stuff that they put out in those manuals. If you don't know who Steve Anderson and Ben Steger are, they're world-class competitive and quite candidly defensive shooters because they have backgrounds that are multifaceted. But anywho, point being, these dudes can run their guns, and they've both written books to express to the general populace how to get better with those guns in your basement without having to, send one single round downrange. So
absolutely. I'm going to chime in on that a little bit too, Kent.
Yeah, man, do it.
For those that might be a bit reluctant to go out and purchase a book on dry fire, I would even point you in the direction of your favorite search engine, because I'd be willing to bet there's probably at least snippets or tidbits of the information that's in those books available on the open web. So you don't have to necessarily make the commitment to purchase anything, although I'm going to echo Kent's sentiment here. If you want to take this seriously, you should be reading and owning books on the topic.
Yep.
I'm kind of old school that way. I actually judge somebody by the library they keep. I don't care if it's on a Kindle or on a traditional bookshelf, but there's something to be said about a person when you walk into their house and you see a shelf full of books on various academic and professional reading, not just Stephen King.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, please continue.
No. So what's cool about and TG is absolutely correct. Both of those guys and many others have put a lot of good information out on free platforms. YouTube, another great source, Scott Jidlinski, Modern Samurai Project. He's got a wealth of free, awesome information on YouTube. Hell, I've got some cool free information on YouTube. But the great thing about having the manual, and I stress to call it it's a book because it's a paperback book, and yeah, Kindle's great too. But the point being, having the manual at your fingertips is these guys are grandmaster, world-class shooters and competitors, and the book that they've put out for both of them literally represents, so how did you become so awesome, right? Because they always get these questions. How did you become so awesome? How did you become so awesome? And they got sick of answering the question, so they put out a book. So it's their practice manual. It's their routine that they go through in an educational explanation format that shows you exactly how to go through it. And there are dudes literally who have made GM in USPSA or M in USPSA by reading that book and going down to their basement and emerging 9 months later and kicking some serious ass. So,
yep.
It can absolutely be done if you dedicate yourself to the topic. So, we'll absolutely come out at you with individual drills and skills and practice and tips, and I'll even do a video series on it for you guys. But in the meantime, start with the reading material and progress forward from there. So,
if nothing else, if you haven't in a while, take your gun out and look at it once in a while.
Yeah, knock the cobwebs off.
No, seriously, just to capitalize on the dry fire thing, get the damn thing in your hands.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Something. But yeah, so that's the homework.
Absolutely. That's the homework for
I'll
the.
be dry fired. So,
Yeah, I will too.
You guys will
I
see me
live
doing
fire.
that. You'll see me doing that on Instagram all the time. So.
Yeah, TJ's real good about that. Actually, he does put the Instagram videos up on his dry fire. That's good.
Sometimes.
I live fire 4 or 5 days a week, and I still dry fire. It's absolutely valuable to you. So,
cool. So with
that, everybody, thanks so much for your support. For those of you that have followed us previously on our other social media, we hope you'll merge over and follow our joint venture here. Please like, favorite, subscribe, share, follow all the links in the comments section below. Thanks for all your support. We really appreciate everything that you've done for us so far, and we hope you'll continue to follow along on our journey and get out and train. We love you guys. Thanks so much.